Astute Quotations, Part 1. Most people live in a very restricted circle of their potential being. William James. Whenever I draw a circle, I immediately want to step out of it. Buckminster Fuller. Those who wish to succeed must ask the right preliminary questions. Aristotle. Find the right question. You don't invent the answers, you reveal the answers. Jonas Salk. As to methods, there may be a million and then some, but principles are few. The man who grasps principles can successfully select his own methods. The man who tries methods, ignoring principles, is sure to have trouble. Harrington Emerson, American business theorist. Churning water for however long a time does not produce butter. Buddhist saying. There's nothing worse than doing the wrong thing well. Management consultant Peter Drucker. You cannot make a crab walk straight. Aristophanes. Knowledge shrinks as wisdom grows, for details are swallowed up in principles. Alfred North Whitehead. Those are my principles. If you don't like them, well, I have others. Groucho Marx. The farther backward you can look, the farther forward you can see. Winston Churchill. The moment of victory is much too short to live for that and nothing else. Martina Navratilova. If I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. Abraham Lincoln. Calculation, which is miscalculation, sets in. D.T. Suzuki. Cunning is the dark sanctuary of incapacity. Lord Chesterfield. In most mental illnesses, the capacity to relax is as much impaired as the integrity of a bone is destroyed by fracture. Abraham Myerson, neurologist, psychiatrist. We make our decisions in the present, and the present exists out of time. It is a tiny moment where two periods, the past and the future, meet. In the present, you are always free to make your choice. Tolstoy. The majority of men meet with failure because of their lack of persistence in creating new plans to take the place of those which fail. Napoleon Hill. Opportunity never knocks twice at any man's door. French proverb. Opportunity always knocks at the least opportune moment. Ducharme's precept. If you plan on being anything less than you are capable of being, you will probably be unhappy all the days of your life. Abraham Maslow. In order to achieve all that is demanded of us, we must regard ourselves as greater than we are. Goethe. It is impossible to imagine Goethe or Beethoven being good at billiards or golf. H.L. Mencken. A thorough knowledge of the elements, namely basics and principles, takes us more than half the road to mastership. Chess Grandmaster Aaron Nimzowitsch. The better you putt, the bolder you play. Don January, winner of 10 titles. People who write about spring training not being necessary have never tried to throw a baseball. Sandy Koufax, Los Angeles Dodgers. Who touched me? Some power has gone out of me. From the book of Luke. The first virtue in a soldier is endurance of fatigue. Courage is only the second virtue. Napoleon. And nothing brings me all things. Shakespeare from Timon or Timon of Athens. From King Gustav of Sweden upon presenting a gold medal in the 1912 Olympics. You, sir, are without doubt the greatest athlete in the world, replied Jim Thorpe. Thanks, King. Only when he no longer knows what he is doing does the painter do good things. Edgar Degas. We aim for a state where the athlete is free from consciously thinking about what he or she is doing. Sports psychologist Charles Garfield. Sometimes thinking too much can destroy your momentum. Golf Hall of Famer Tom Watson. Stop thinking about the shot, the master called out. That way it is bound to fail. Eugen Herrigel, from Zen in the Art of Archery, 1953. How can you think and hit at the same time? Former Yankee catcher Yogi Berra. If you wait till they are exhausted, it's too late. Yankee baseball announcer and former pitcher David Cone. The mere athlete is brutal and Philistine, the mere intellectual unstable and spiritless. Plato. The best partner for dice playing is not a just man, but a good dice player. Plato. The best throw of the dice is to throw them away. English proverb, possibly dating to Roman times. Rules are made for people who aren't willing to make up their own. Test pilot Chuck Yeager. The truth is that many people set rules to keep from making decisions. Mike Krzyzewski, Duke University basketball. No dancer can watch Fred Astaire and not know that we all should have been in another business. Mikhail Baryshnikov. If you see a tennis player who looks as if he's working very hard, then that means he isn't very good. Helen Wills Moody, 1905 to 1998, perhaps the greatest female tennis player ever. Nothing so much prevents our being natural as the desire of appearing so. Le Rochefoucauld, from his Maxims, 1665. If you don't have confidence, you will always find a way not to win. Carl Lewis, Olympic gold medalist. Son, what kind of pitch would you like to miss? Dizzy Dean, St. Louis Cardinals. I've never seen anyone grow humpbacked carrying away the money they won from me. Poker Alice, 1851 to 1930. There is plenty of time to win this game and to thrash the Spaniards too. Sir Francis Drake, reputedly, while playing a game of bowls, upon being informed that the Spanish Armada had been sighted approaching England in 1588. My team talk was very simple. I said, let's just have an old-fashioned match, get the right result, and go out for a few drinks afterwards. It seemed to work better than all the tactical crap. Ron Atkinson, manager of Coventry City, speaking in 1996. Nothing erases unpleasant thoughts more effectively than conscious concentration on pleasant ones. Dr. Hans Selye, University of Montreal, a pioneer in the study of stress. Out of clutter, find simplicity. Einstein. One must pass through knowledge to arrive at simplicity. Trevanian, from his book Shibumi, 1979. If you want to tell something to an athlete, say it quickly and give no alternatives. This is a game of winning and losing. It is senseless to explain and explain. Paavo Nurmi, Finnish participant in the Olympics sometime in the 1920s or so. The main thing to do is relax and let your talent do the work. Charles Barkley, Phoenix Suns. May you achieve all your goals. Ancient Chinese curse. A single negative thought is what gets me hit in the face. Boxing champ Ray Boom Boom Mancini. All negative emotion is expressed as flexion. Moshe Feldenkrais, Israeli physicist and somatic educator. To complain is always non-acceptance of what is. It invariably carries an unconscious negative charge. Eckhart Tolle, author of The Power of Now. Force can only achieve mediocre results at best. Napoleon Hill. Power is not the same as force. Force is the negation of power. Werner Erhard. Force has no place where there is need of skill. Herodotus, from the 4th century BC. He who overcomes by force hath overcome but half his foe. Milton, from Paradise Lost. Knowledge is more than equivalent to force. The master of mechanics laughs at strength. Samuel Johnson. Force, unaided by judgment, collapses through its own weight. Horace, 1st century BC. A coach who suppresses natural instincts may find that he has lifted a poor player to a mediocre one, but has reduced a potential genius to the rank and file. Sir Don Bradman, Australian cricketer. The framework of a symphony must be so strong that it forces you to follow it, regardless of the environment and circumstances. Composer Jean Sibelius. The best is the enemy of the good. Voltaire. There is no such thing as a pretty good omelet. French proverb. A good play needs no epilogue. Shakespeare, from As You Like It, spoken during the epilogue. People who experience themselves as complete don't deal with other people as opportunities to have their own needs filled. Werner Erhard. Stop saying, I wish, and start saying, I will. Magician David Copperfield. You get whatever accomplishment you are willing to declare. Georgia O'Keeffe. Good writers define reality. Bad ones merely restate it. Playwright Edward Albee. The minute you start talking about what you're going to do if you lose, you've lost. George Shultz, former U.S. Secretary of State. To create is to act without predicate. To educate a man in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace to society. Everything I know about morality and obligations of men, I owe it to football. Albert Camus. The angry general loses. Sun Tzu, from The Art of War. It ain't the water cooler getting you out. Yankee manager Casey Stengel speaking to Mickey Mantle, who once kicked a water cooler after going down on strikes. Most golfers are willing enough to practice physically, but they never think of practicing mentally. Jerry Travers, U.S. Open champion, 1915. Nobody knows in detail how extreme pleasure works, but it seems to activate some of the deepest and most primitive parts of the brain, occasionally overriding the more complex cognitive regions. Clifford Bishop, British author, researcher. The teacher must adopt the role of facilitator, not content provider. Russian psychologist Lev Vygotsky. Teach as an old fishing guide takes out a beginner. Theodore Rothke, winner of the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry, 1954. Neurosis is the way of avoiding non-being by avoiding being. Paul Tillich, German theologian. He who sleeps in continual noise is wakened by silence. William Dean Howells, American author, editor. Silence is God's first language. St. John of the Cross. It is in the nature of human affairs that great alterations take place suddenly, and great discoveries are made unexpectedly, as it were, accidentally. William Godwin, 1756, 1836. Every act of thinking is identical with the molecular activity of the brain cortex that coincides with it. Auguste Forel, psychiatrist. Every now and then go away, have a little relaxation, for when you come back to your work, your judgment will be surer, since to remain constantly at work will cause you to lose power of judgment. Go some distance away, because the work appears smaller and more of it can be taken in at a glance, and a lack of harmony or proportion is more readily seen. Leonardo da Vinci. Painters often look at their work in the mirror because you can see flaws that you don't see looking straight at a canvas. Historian David McCullough. Harmony is next to godliness. Bach. The pleasure of sport is so often the chance to indulge the cessation of time itself. Journalist George Plimpton. There is something beyond our mind which abides in silence within our mind. From the Upanishads. Logic and consistency are luxuries for the gods and the lower animals. Samuel Butler. The truth is more important than the facts. Frank Lloyd Wright. The crucial concept in baseball is the creation of opportunities. George F. Will, from his book Men at Work, 1990. I never think about the play or visualize anything. I do what comes to me at the moment. Instinct. It has always been that way. Lionel Messi, Barcelona forward. That little white ball won't move until you hit it, and there's nothing you can do after it has gone. Babe Zaharias, perhaps the greatest female athlete of the 20th century. It would be much better if she, namely Zaharias, and her ilk stayed at home, got themselves prettied up, and waited for the phone to ring. Sports writer Joe Williams, writing for the New York World Telegram, 1935. Some people say little girls should be seen and not heard, but I think, oh bondage, up yours. Polystyrene, X-ray specs. You should hammer when your iron when it is glowing hot. Let me rephrase that. You should hammer your iron when it is glowing hot. Publilius Syrus, 1st century BC. Do not wait to strike till the iron is hot, but make it hot by striking. William Sprague, American clergyman. Act well at the moment, and you have performed a good action for all eternity. Johann Caspar Lavater, Swiss poet and philosopher. There is a time to run, and there is a time to rest. It is the true test of the runner to get them both right. Noel Carroll, Irish Olympian, co-founder of the Dublin Marathon. The more powerful and original a mind, the more it will incline towards a religion of solitude. Aldous Huxley. Imagination rules the world. Napoleon Bonaparte. Imagination is not an empirical or superadded power of consciousness. It is the whole of consciousness as it realizes its freedom. Jean-Paul Sartre. The debt we owe to the play of imagination is incalculable. Carl Jung. Every great advance in science has issued from a new audacity of imagination. John Dewey. Imagination creates reality. Richard Wagner. Never tell me the odds. Filmmaker George Lucas. When the going gets rough, remember to keep calm. Horace. When your opponent is hurrying recklessly, you must act contrarily and keep calm. Swordmaster Miyamoto Musashi. Men do not approach to leadership until they have lost the desire to lead anyone. Lord Beveridge, economist. It takes a nail to drive out another. German proverb. One creates from nothing. If you try to create from something, you're just changing something. So in order to create something, you first have to be able to create nothing. Werner Erhard. Nothingness is the same as fullness. In infinity, full is no better than empty. Nothingness is both empty and full. Carl Jung. A good drama critic is one who perceives what is happening in the theater of his time. A great drama critic also perceives what is not happening. Kenneth Tynan, English theater critic. With the void, full empowerment. Albert Camus. The work comes into the world at an undetermined hour from a still unknown, but it comes inevitably. Puccini. Silence catches the mouse. Thomas Fuller, 1654-1734. Back in the days of ancient Rome, a chatterbox barber once asked a nobleman named Achilles how he would like to be trimmed. Achilles answered, "In silence." That was relayed to us by Plutarch in the 1st century AD. Silence is only frightening to people who are compulsively verbalizing. William S. Burroughs. Self-control is only courage under another form. It may also be regarded as the primary essence of character. Samuel Smiles, from his book Self-Help, 1859. Few lapses of self-control are punished as immediately and severely as loss of temper during a boxing bout. Nobel Prize winner Konrad Lorenz. We must interpret a bad temper as a sign of inferiority. Psychotherapist Alfred Adler. The best charioteers do not rush ahead. The best fighters do not make displays of wrath. From the Tao Te Ching. A large part of every voluntary movement is both involuntary and outside consciousness. Arthur Goyton, from his textbook Basic Human Physiology, 1971. Only 3 or 4 outs directly affect the outcome of any given baseball game. One of the greatest challenges of pitching is to recognize these critical situations and rise to the occasion with consistency. Tom Seaver, New York Mets. Simply by being compelled to keep constantly on his guard, a man may grow so weak as to be unable to defend himself. Nietzsche. 4 people out of 5 are more in need of rest than exercise. The pressure's on. No time to lose. Modern English. Gathering dust. I can't tell how good a team really is until I see them playing under pressure. Billy Martin, New York Yankees manager. The popular idea that a child forgets easily is not an accurate one. Many people go right through life in the grip of an idea which has been impressed on them in very tender years. Agatha Christie. Real religion is the transformation of anxiety into laughter. Alan Watts. Offer them what they secretly want, and they, of course, immediately become panic-stricken. Jack Kerouac. It is a paradoxical but profoundly true and important principle of life that the most likely way to reach a goal is to be aiming not at the goal itself, but at some more ambitious goal beyond it. Historian Arnold Toynbee. Success usually comes to those who are too busy to be looking for it. Thoreau. We must never become too absorbed by the thought we are pursuing. Claude Bernard, French physiologist. Quality comes not from inspection, but from improvement of the production process. Management consultant W. Edwards Deming. You can't get from A to Z by passing up B. Nick Saban, head coach, Alabama football. This concludes Astute Quotations Part 1.